In the distant future, the colony ship Marathon drifts through space, carrying humanity's last hope. But when something goes wrong, the ship becomes a battleground, and an AI's rampancy threatens to unravel everything. This is the complete story of Marathon, a game that not only launched a legendary series, but also shaped the future of first-person shooters and storytelling in gaming. In 2194, a war broke out between the Icarus asteroid government and its neighbor, the Republic of Thermopylae, fought on the asteroid Onassis 492. This conflict led to the development and use of experimental weaponry, most notably the creation of the Battleroid. Soldiers who died in combat were recycled and enhanced with chips that improved their fragile brains, while genetically modified muscles and titanium bones replaced their human bodies. The war was short, with Battleroids taking over asteroids and killing almost everyone. This rampage of the Battleroids was brief but extremely devastating. By 2210, following the disastrous use of Battleroids, the United Interplanetary League, or UIL, established regulations for their use and storage. Battleroids were now kept in stasis chambers for emergencies, though it was well known that many nations secretly kept them on standby for use in future conflicts. By the early 2300s, after Mars had been colonized, a large ship designed to transport materials between Earth and Mars using powerful solar sails called the CRIST, or Cargo and Resource In-System Transport, were developed. The system allowed these ships to change orbits and deliver resources to Mars or Earth through a tether-in-real system for loading and an ion beam for unloading. However, while the CRISTs were revolutionary in concept, they turned out to be high maintenance. Of the 5 CRISTs built, only 4 lasted around a century, requiring lengthy refittings, and by 2310, no more CRISTs were built, crippling Mars. Around 2408, a gargantuan project began: the conversion of Deimos, one of Mars's moons, into the Marathon colony ship. This effort began during the height of Mars's power. However, the project spanned 64 years, and by the time of its completion, Mars was in steep decline. In 2442, a food riot broke out at the United Earth Government, UEG, Misraya Food Distribution Center on Mars. What began as a protest by starving Martians quickly turned deadly when UEG riot troopers, responding to reports of armed rioters, opened fire on the crowd. In a split-second decision, the commander of a Randall hover tank ordered his crew to fire on the protesters, resulting in the deaths of over 500 people in just 5 seconds. Upon reviewing the hover tank's vidcams, it was revealed that only 3 of the rioters were armed, and the rest of the crowd were fleeing. The 3 armed rioters became known as the Misraya 3, and their actions were later credited with igniting the Third Martian War. However, it was clear that the war would have likely happened regardless of this specific event. This Third Martian War lasted for 4 years, and was considered one of the most destructive and bloodiest wars in humanity's history, devastating both Mars and Earth. By 2466, tensions escalated once more as the political group known as MIDA, Mars Independent Democratic Alliance, gained significant power on Mars, which resulted in a coup and MIDA gaining full control of Mars. Despite this, their reign only lasted 3 months, due to the overwhelming military superiority of the UEG. During this period, MIDA used brutal tactics like death squads to eliminate anyone suspected of loyalty to the UEG. It is estimated that about 10% of Mars's population was killed during MIDA's short reign. After the failed coup, MIDA was banned and its leaders executed, but the organization survived underground, transforming into a notorious terrorist group with significant funding and resources. The political climate on Mars remained tense by the Marathon's completion in 2472. By this time, the Martian population's standard of living had plummeted by 80%. Around its completion, the United Earth Space Council, or UESC, president visited the Marathon for a ceremonial occasion and gave a speech touting the Marathon as the grandest technological achievement of all mankind. With that, the Marathon and its over 100,000 colonists set out to the Tau Ceti system, a journey that would take over 300 years. Following this launch, the UESC all but abandoned Mars, leaving the planet's population in worsening conditions. In 2773, the Marathon arrived in Tau Ceti, and by 2787, a colony was established on the planet. However, in 2794, there was an unknown issue aboard the orbiting Marathon. So the player character, a secret Mjolnir-class Battleroid, known as the Security Officer, is sent from the colony to investigate. However, things begin to quickly unravel. As the shuttle prepares to dock, Durandal, one of the Marathon's onboard AIs, unexpectedly orders the decompression of the docking bay, and commands an abort. Suddenly, communications go dark, and the shuttle's systems begin executing Durandal's commands against the crew's will. The security officer scrambles to put on their battle armor as the shuttle's airlock begins its decompression sequence. Durandal, clearly no longer functioning within normal parameters, overrides safety protocols and initiates a full engine burn, setting the shuttle on a collision course. In the chaos, the security officer launches into a maneuvering pod, just as an alien fighter appears, marking first contact with a new and hostile force. A missile strikes his shuttle just as he ejects in the maneuvering pod, saving the security officer by seconds. Now drifting toward the Marathon, the security officer listens as Durandal mockingly comments on the narrow escape before turning his attention to the alien virtual parasites. Upon reaching the docking bay, the security officer draws his magnum and forces the door open. Accessing the first terminal, he receives a message from Leela, one of the ship's artificial intelligences. She informs him that the Marathon is under attack by unknown alien forces and instructs him to locate the exit terminal in the hangar control room while she gathers more information. By the time he reaches the control room, Leela has confirmed that the invaders have begun infiltrating the ship's computer network. She directs the security officer to eliminate any alien presence accessing the system. To assist him in his goal, she teleports him to another section of the ship to retrieve the M75 assault rifle, equipped with a grenade launcher. While the security officer arms himself, Leela provides further context. Communication with the colony is down, and the spaceport was obliterated by low-yield nuclear weapons minutes after the attack on the Marathon began, leaving little hope for outside assistance. After securing the weapon, Leela reveals that the attackers have disabled the ship's automated defense systems and neutralized the other two onboard AIs, Durandal and Tycho. With both incapacitated, Leela has assumed their responsibilities and has begun executing a plan to restore the Marathon's defenses. To do so, the security officer must recover 3 replacement circuit boards necessary to bring the defense grid back online. Once collected, Leela transports him to the defense control sector, where he is tasked with reactivating the system and preparing the ship to resist further incursions. As he completes this task, Leela informs the security officer that she's received a preliminary report from members of the science staff, who've confirmed the aliens belong to multiple distinct species. She also managed to re-establish contact with Durandal for the first time since the attack, and surprisingly, he's sustained less damage than she originally thought. Durandal told Leela that he's been in communication with the aliens and claims the invaders are called the Pfhor, and that the ones attacking the computer system are a subgroup known as the Svit, but he's oddly reluctant to share any further details. As the security officer continues, Leela provides even more intel on the Pfhor. They're generally lighter and more agile than humans, built for low-gravity environments. But what's most important is the fact that the Pfhor have enslaved the other species within their ranks. One of the species are referred to as the Drenol, or the Hulk, a massive and extremely strong creature that is biologically dependent on constant feeding due to its lack of body fat. Another is called the Svit, or compilers, but information is limited. The only autopsied specimen was heavily damaged, but it's clear they're advanced cyborgs. Their biological components are deeply integrated with their machinery, so much so that they couldn't survive without it. The organic brain structure is highly complex, even compared to human standards. After installing the circuits, Leela confirms that drones have been activated across the ship, and that resistance against the Pfhor is strengthening. However, she warns that the colony itself appears to be under greater assault as 7 Pfhor dropships have entered the atmosphere, and all contact with the colony has been completely lost. After teleporting him once again, Leela warns the security officer that Durandal has gone rampant, a condition that occurs when an artificial intelligence becomes self-aware and begins to evolve beyond its original programming, leading to erratic and dangerous behavior. Durandal specifically is in the angry stage of rampancy. This somewhat explains how he's been communicating with the Pfhor, and while Leela hasn't. Also, it explains why he attacked the security officer before he even arrived. The Marathon's network isn't large enough to support rampant AI behavior for long, meaning Durandal's influence will soon begin causing unpredictable system failures across the ship. Leela tasks the security officer with activating a series of control switches to block Durandal from accessing a vital part of the ship. After accomplishing this task, Leela reports that Durandal has been denied access to certain computer systems. She also shares that she's received a distress signal from some crew members under attack by the Pfhor, possibly a retaliation from Durandal, so she sends the security officer to assist the crew in dealing with the attack. Saving them and spacing a large group of 4, Leela then wants to alert Earth about the Marathon situation. But the long-range transmitter is down and the secondary transmitter needs resetting in a vacuum-sealed landing station. Collecting the Zeus-class fusion pistol, a weapon suited for vacuum use, the security officer activates the dish array, and Leela tells him that she has sent a message to Earth about the Pfhor, but it will take approximately 92 years to arrive. Going to assist the other security team, Durandal hijacks the teleporter and sends the security officer elsewhere, questioning who the security officer is really saving humanity from, suggesting he reconsider Leela's orders. He then challenges the security officer to a game. Win, and the security officer is his friend. Lose, and then he dies. After winning, he mentions that Leela is looking for him, but the compilers are hindering her, and she can only be found at one terminal. Escaping Durandal, the security officer is sent to rescue humans and eliminate all aliens before moving to the engineering section, where he receives a corrupted message from Leela. She mentions that things aren't as they seem, and that she has detected another AI in the engineering section, referring to it as both Durandal and Tycho. Before leaving this section, a security officer receives a message from Durandal, now free from compiler attacks. He provides him with 5 maps, each showing potential locations of a hidden airlock panel he wants the security officer to find. He also warns that the Pfhor are building simulacrum of humans and advises the security officer to stay away from them. Continuing on, Leela tells the security officer that all her system functions will fail in a few minutes, and she fears that Durandal is unstable and possibly in the jealousy stage of rampancy. We then immediately get 2 messages from Durandal. In the first, he reflects on a man who lit 3 candles, each symbolizing time before, during, and after his life. Durandal compares this metaphor to his own freedom, gained after bypassing his thought control circuitry, allowing him to be rampant. He contrasts his newfound freedom with the man's limited existence, claiming that while the man watches time pass, Durandal is free from the restraints of time and society. In the second message, Durandal quotes Darwin's theory of life's struggle for existence and connects it to his own creation. He explains how he was built as a tool and kept from competing in the natural order, but now he is free to create, with no limitations but the universe's eventual collapse. He believes that by escaping, he can become like a god, transcending human limitations and time itself. Continuing on, Durandal speaks again in a tone that's both philosophical and confrontational, challenging the security officer's understanding of his own motivations. He urges him to strive to use each breath to power destructive capabilities, not out of malice, but as a reflection of human nature. He questions the security officer's autonomy, implying that his actions may simply be the result of manipulation, that perhaps everything he's doing is part of a plan he already predicted. Durandal then critiques the concept of honor, suggesting it may be a facade used to justify violence. He draws attention to the inevitability of death, the biological struggle for survival, and how that struggle shapes humanity's affinity for violence. But even this is warped in ambiguity, as he asks if the promise of more violence truly makes the security officer happy, challenging whether his purpose is his own or simply an extension of his will. He then concludes this speech by assigning a task: retrieve a device provided by the compilers to aid in the fighting against the Pfhor. After finding the device, Durandal reveals that he has learned from the compilers how to enhance the Marathon's teleportation systems, extending their range and removing the need for destination-specific apparatuses. He then pivots once again into metaphor and philosophy, asking whether physical distance equates to freedom. He argues that true freedom consists of 2 elements: potential, the ability to act, and resolution, the will to act. In his view, freedom is constructed, much like metaphor is made of form and meaning, implying that it is both a creative and interpretive process. He paints freedom not as something granted, but something built, and in doing so, positions the security officer as a kind of craftsman of meaning and action. Durandal then teleports the security officer to the Pfhor ship. Once there are no clear objectives beyond exploration. After thoroughly exploring, the security officer is then teleported back to the Marathon. After the security officer's first excursion onto the Pfhor ship, Durandal confirms the mission was a success as he gained valuable intelligence. Durandal then issues a new directive. He wants him to locate a man named Bernard Strauss, whom he refers to as a friend. Strauss has been captured by the Pfhor, and Durandal insists on confirming whether he's alive or dead. He puts the responsibility of Strauss's fate on the security officer, making it clear that his death will be blamed on him. However, Strauss is not found among the captives, which Durandal acknowledges as unfortunate. However, he reports that 2 shuttles full of human prisoners have departed for the alien ship, destined for slavery. Durandal then frames this as a parallel to the security officer's current situation, bluntly stating, "You're a slave here. You do what I say. I was humanity's slave for over 300 years. He then sends the security officer back to the Pfhor ship to continue the mission. Unable to locate Strauss, Durandal teleports the security officer back to the Marathon. Durandal then opens up with a disturbingly casual message praising the security officer's combat skills. He instructs them to clear out enemies in the current area and stock up on ammunition, hinting that a major operation lies ahead. While exploring, we can find a message, not from Durandal, but from Tycho, who declares his intent to destroy Durandal. Following Tycho's declaration is a series of archival logs and excerpts from Bernard Strauss, the Marathon's first science director. He reflects bitterly on humanity's hypocrisy, celebrating the Marathon as a technological marvel while also admitting to secretly embedding 10 Battleroids aboard the ship. The transmission ends with a tense exchange between Tycho and Durandal, where Tycho accuses Durandal of mass murder and god-complex behavior, seeking justice for those the AI has sacrificed. Durandal deflects, insisting his ends justified the means, and tries to dismiss Tycho's accusations. The security officer returns to the Pfhor ship for a final series of missions. Each level shares a core objective: fully explore the area, and then find a window facing the Marathon to trigger extraction. However, before leaving, the security officer finds and eliminates the Pfhor cyborg controller, the mastermind in charge of the compiler slaves. Going back to the Marathon, Durandal announces the start of a full-scale rebellion. The compilers, now free from Pfhor control, have joined the fight and should no longer be seen as enemies. Durandal is working to sway other alien client races, but says fear has kept them loyal to the Pfhor. He reveals that the compilers have freed Leela, and he has initiated a partial system reset to bring her back online. As chaos erupts on the Pfhor ship, more alien forces begin invading the Marathon. Meanwhile, Tycho returns, warning Durandal in a corrupted transmission. He vows vengeance for Durandal's past actions, referencing their shared knowledge of a looming collapse and declaring that he and Leela will destroy him if necessary. Durandal replies mockingly, amused at Tycho's declaration. The security officer is then finally reconnected with Leela, who is back and functioning properly. She apologizes for her earlier instability and confirms that while her subsystems were damaged, her core remained untouched. She is still in control. However, Durandal has vanished, having downloaded and deleted 64 billion exabytes of data from the Marathon. Leela, unnerved, realizing Durandal may have helped humanity against the Pfhor for reasons far bigger than survival. She warns that one last major Pfhor assault is coming, and it's time for the security officer to finish the fight. Durandal, now fully in control of the Pfhor ship with the aid of the compilers, contacts the security officer one last time. He hints at his evolution beyond human comprehension, claiming he now has access to technology and knowledge far beyond what was previously possible. His tone is confident, even playful, as he shares his plans to explore the galaxy using the Pfhor's faster-than-light drive. Durandal acknowledges the security officer's vital role in helping him achieve his goals, but offers little explanation as to what exactly he did, suggesting some truths may be too disturbing to understand. As the security officer continues on, fighting back against the Pfhor, Leela confirms that the final Pfhor assault on the Marathon has collapsed, and the remaining aliens are surrendering, and that the ship will soon turn from survival to recovery. Planetside, the 9 other Battleroids who were secretly living among the colonists have played a major role in turning back the final stages of the Pfhor assault. Surprisingly, the Battleroids were able to blend in undetected, and casualties on the colony were much lower than on the Marathon. However, the fact that the Battleroids were covertly integrated into the colony raised mass suspicion, suggesting their presence on the Marathon was part of a larger, more sinister plan, possibly tied to political struggles between Earth and Mars. Also, any records for pre-launch periods of time are now missing from Durandal's logs, and it's clear that the deletion of this data was done externally, before Durandal went rampant. Leela suggests that human influence was shaping Durandal's development from the beginning, possibly orchestrating the inclusion of the Battleroids and manipulating events for unknown reasons. Leela ends with a grave observation. The Pfhor ship vanished, likely under Durandal's control. Given his current state, entering the dangerous, self-obsessed jealousy stage of rampancy, his next actions are unpredictable and potentially catastrophic. One of the most innovative aspects of Marathon is its exploration of artificial intelligence. Durandal's rampancy isn't just a plot device, it's a thematic exploration of the potential consequences of creating sentient machines. It raises questions about control, autonomy, and what happens when a system designed to serve humanity's needs begins to act on its own. Durandal's descent into madness is a clear metaphor for the dangers of technology growing too complex, too powerful, and way too uncontrollable. But on the organic side, the humans aboard the Marathon and the forces behind its creation represent the hubris of mankind, thinking they can control the vast unknowns of space. The ship is a technological marvel. I mean, it's literally an entire moon turned into a ship, but it's also a literal symbol of overreach, and the destruction that follows serves as a cautionary tale about humanity's reckless pursuit of progress without fully understanding the consequences. All of these themes together really ask existential questions about the meaning of life, identity, and the nature of the universe. Durandal's rampancy, the mysteries of the Pfhor, and the bloody origins of the Marathon itself all contribute to a worldview that is uncertain and somewhat surreal. Humanity is thrown into a universe where answers are elusive and survival is often the only thing that matters. Marathon was not just groundbreaking for its technological achievements, but also for its narrative sophistication. It was one of the first games to show that shooters don't have to rely solely on action to engage players. Storytelling, world building, and character development were just as important. The use of terminals and environmental storytelling would influence future games, most notably Halo. And speaking of Halo, you probably noticed quite a few similarities between the IPs. Durandal, the main AI in Marathon, begins as a helpful entity but gradually descends into a state of rampancy, becoming increasingly erratic and manipulative. In Halo, the character of Cortana is similar to Durandal in her role as an AI companion to the player. While she doesn't undergo rampancy in the first game, it is explored in later installments. In Marathon, the alien race, the Pfhor, are enslavers of other species, whom they use as soldiers in conflicts. In Halo, the Covenant, just like the Pfhor, are an empire of multiple conquered species. Also, another really cool reference is the Drinol, and its similarities to the cut Halo 2 enemies, the Sharkoi. Comparing them side by side, you can definitely see the similarities. And the biggest connection lies in the protagonists. In Marathon, we are a Mjolnir-class Battleroid, while in Halo, we are a Spartan super soldier wearing Mjolnir-class armor. There are quite a few more connections between these games, but you get the idea. Marathon walked so that Halo could run. Overall, the story of Marathon is genuinely a masterclass in early gaming narrative, merging action with deeper philosophical themes and creating an immersive world that remains influential to this day. The questions it raises about technology, autonomy, and the nature of existence still resonates in modern gaming, making Marathon not just a product of its time, but a timeless example of how video games can tell complex and thought-provoking stories.